our time together monthly is your time. So we get to spend this time together in the way that would best suit you. I have a couple of thoughts and ideas to share with you regarding kind of business building and really database work, which is kind of the time of the year that we're in. But I want to start with you guys. Is there anything, any topic or anything specific that you want to make sure that we cover today that would be especially helpful to you at the moment? Please, not all at once. All right, so let me ask a couple of different questions then. So how many of you were on the call with, I can't remember exactly what the event was, but we had Jason Abrams for a bit, and Jason talked about kind of the 3 seasons of business, right? And the fall season was the fall cleanup, and he talked about the fall cleanup from the perspective of, are you using August into September to get your whole database up, running, and polished so that you then can move into the winter of renewal, which starts kind of Friday, right? October, November, into perhaps mid-December, is that winter of renewal. And that whole winter of renewal idea is you've spent all this time getting your database where it needs to be. Now, are you having communication with that database? Are you reaching out? Are you touching base? Are you making care calls? Are you somebody told me the other day that because interest rates were still so low, they were just kind of dialing through their database and making sure everyone knew about refinance opportunities to save people money, right? Those kinds of things. Are you having conversations to follow-ups or follow-up conversations to either email campaigns or mailing campaigns that you're doing? Are you having, like on the call this morning, we had the conversation around taking pictures while everything was still green, right? Those kinds of things. So I guess my first question is, did you spend any time August, September kind of building and polishing that database, right? And for those of you who have your license for about 17 minutes, that's okay too. And do you have a database that you're now going to create and polish so that you can then move into the next phase of that, which is communicating with it to find some business? Where do people stand in that? Should we go through the rules of a mastermind? Like, masterminds are when we all talk to each other, not just me. Go ahead, Shirley.
I loved what Carlos said yesterday about, people who are who are not great with the cold call idea, like I just don't want to do it. He talked about the fact that he created these moments of service to his communities, either through church or through where he did seminars on things that people would need in order to become a homeowner, or if they were already a homeowner, things that they would need. And I love the idea that he's gotten all of his business from those referrals that he would do. I think he was doing it monthly. He would do the church and he would be in a hall. I don't remember what the hall was, but I really like that. Because my focus right now is branding myself with people who are decluttering and people who are downsizing for their parents, or their parents have passed away, and how I can use my social work skills and my grief counseling skills to help people with that. So I feel of myself as a different kind of realtor than some other people that way. Anyway, I like what he talked about yesterday about coming from a place of service, of offering seminars to people who are either homeowners or want to become homeowners on what they need, what they can benefit from, whatever he can bring to the table.
Yeah, events is one of the sources of business that is tied in with your database, but it's also tied in with strangers, right? Depending on how you advertise and how you market for your event. Let's be clear about something, right? And so people use the phrase cold call as if it were some, communicable disease. And what I want to just be clear about is, first of all, this is America. You get to have whatever opinion you want about the phrase cold call. From a business ownership perspective, just recognize, like, no one's saying go and be a telemarketer, like, ever. I've been in business for 22 years. When I was still listing and selling real estate, I sold $32 million in 1 year, my high year. I've never cold called anyone in my entire life. I've been on the phone a lot. I've warm called. I've worked the database. I've called expireds. I've followed up with open house leads, and I've followed up with internet leads. I have followed up and had conversations based on people I found at events. Right. So I just want to be clear that what we're talking about this isn't about being a telemarketer. But if you think that you can grow a business and never actually get on the telephone, you're fooling yourselves. I'm sorry to say. Because what Carlos said yesterday, the part he left out was, yeah, he had these events, and part of driving people to the events was calling them and making sure that they knew about the event. And part of the conversion process was, after the event, the people who came, calling them to say, hey, how can we follow up and help you? And the people who didn't come, calling them to say, hey, we missed you. Is there anything we can do to set up a one-on-one? Right. So, and I know, Shirley, that's not what you meant. I'm using the words you said as a pivot point, right? Because I think that sometimes we have it in our heads that, oh, well, everybody else can cold call, I'll find a different way. No one's asking you to cold call. I mean, unless you want to. Frankly, I find cold calling to be tedious and ineffective. Like, if you're literally just telemarketing to people saying, here I am, here's what I do, do you need me? I mean, you might as well close your eyes and spin around the neighborhood and throw darts and hope you hit somebody that wants to list.
That was my first experience. Was we had at KW in Stanford, we had one night of that, of just calling a list of people that I'd never met before or didn't know. I was so uncomfortable. I was like, that set me up for my bias. But you're right, cold call is not just that.
Yeah, because it's not that. And again, like I said, I don't think I've ever made a cold call in 22 years of building a business. And so instead, what I would encourage you to do is look at your opportunities to communicate, right? It's just communication. It's just having conversations with people is just part of what it is we do. And the idea of banning one whole source of business when that tool that looks something like this, right? That tool touches every single source of business that you have. You got to talk to people, right? You got to talk to people, and it's far easier to talk to people on the telephone at scale than it is to constantly be in front of people, right? Because that's the other thing I hear a lot. Well, I don't do the phone thing because I'm a networker. Okay, that's awesome. I'm not saying don't network. What I'm saying is, can you hit the number of people at scale to run and grow a business that produces enough income for you based on your goals by just networking? And what does that mean? Do you belong to a networking group? Do you go to a lot of parties? Or I don't know what that actually means. I'll tell you a really quick story. At the risk of some of you hanging up on me, I had a conversation with somebody a couple of years ago who said, you don't value networking. And I said, well, that's an interesting comment. Tell me why you say that. And they said, well, because every time, we're either in a class or we're in a mastermind or we're talking about business building, you never mention that as a source of business. And I said, well, that's not true. I do mention it as a source of business. I don't mention it as an effective source of business. That is correct, because I really don't believe it's an effective source of business. And so I said, well, let me ask you this. is that something that you really think you shine at? And he said, well, yes. I said, excellent. So let me ask you this question. It's July. Where are you in terms of hitting your financial goals this year? And he said, oh man, I'm like way behind. I'm like, the second half of the year has to be pretty stellar in order for me to hit my goals. And I said, got it. And so let me ask this. Have you been working that whole networking thing for the first 7 months of this year? He said, yeah, I've been hitting it hard. I said, and so if you've been hitting it hard for 7 months and you're nowhere near your financial goals, can we agree that one of two things must be true? Either networking in and of itself as a source of business is not as effective as you think it is, or you suck at it. One of those two things must be true, right? If you've spent 7 months doing it and it hasn't produced the business that you wanted it to produce. I don't know. You tell me if I'm wrong. Now, just so you know, I did get permission to have that conversation before I kind of brought in the right hook. But do you see what I'm talking about? If networking alone were this brilliant source of business, people who do it would have tons of business. And yet that's not necessarily what we see consistently. What are the top 3 sources of business across the country for 99% of realtors?
Your sphere of influence.
So database is number 1. Database is the number 1 source of business for most realtors in the United States, brand blind, every day of the week. And that's both on the listing side and on the buyer side. Number 1 source of listings and the number 1 source of buyers are the people who know you, like you, trust you, and are already predisposed to do business with you. What's the number 2 source of business on the listing side?
Referrals.
So I'm gonna use referrals as a part of your database, because you pretty much get referrals from your database, whether it's friends, family, other agents. So I'm going to lump that into database. Number 2 source of listings.
Advertising.
I love that. It's not correct, but I do love it.
Open house.
Open house, Ryan gives us, not quite. Appointments, not quite. Source of listings. Okay, shall I give it to you? Expireds. Expireds are the number 2 source of listing business for most agents across the country. What about the buy side, Ryan?
Boy, I have no idea.
Yes, you do, because you gave me the answer before.
Open houses.
That is correct. So the number 2 source of business for buyers after database is open houses. So what am I getting at? The top 3 sources of business for most real estate professionals across the country, brand blind, are their database, expireds, and open houses. So when you're starting, those of you in Ignite, you're going to hear me say this again probably tomorrow or next Tuesday. But when you're starting to figure out where you're going to focus in terms of the ability to obtain business, I don't know, call me crazy. Why not just start there? Because that's where the business comes from, right? And instead we get lost in this, well, I'm going to build a website and I'm going to do all this and I'm going to, keep going to my networking meeting and then we wonder why we're not earning at the level that we expect to earn at. Because instead of focusing on the 3 main sources of business that feed most real estate professionals, a lot of us choose the periphery. We're standing on the outside, hoping for something to kind of roll out of the arena and that we can pick up. When the people in the arena are focusing on their database, expires, and open houses. What are your thoughts around that? I'm curious.
We're not reinventing the wheel. It's already all there.
Yeah, there you go. Right? There is nothing new. People have lived before you. People have succeeded before you, and people are succeeding today. Right? So just look what they do and go do that. Don't make it hard. Right? When I introduce myself at Ignite, I tell everybody, look, I have done everything wrong and I've done a lot of things right. One of the main things I did wrong the first 2 years of my business is that I kept searching for that magic bullet that no one else had thought of, that no one else had found. I was going to do it so much differently than everybody else. No one was going to know what hit them. And what I found was the things that brought me business were all the things that everybody does. I just chose to do it at a consistent level. And when you do something consistently, it builds your confidence, it builds your skill. And so you just do it better and better and better because you're more and more consistent at it. And then because you're doing it better and better and better, your results get better, which only feeds the fact that you want to do it more. So it feeds the consistency. It's this big circle. I never found a magic bullet. I just found that if I did the things that everybody else did consistently, results showed up. So I'll go back to my question. Where do we stand? What are people doing for their databases right now, or setting up to do for the fall, knowing that your business for Q1, end of December, and then Q1 is going to come from all of the efforts that you put in the course of the next 60 to 90 days, pretty much with your database. So what are you doing with your database? I just saw a question in the chat. Let me see. So Jackie asks, are we doing the pie thing this fall? So yes, we absolutely are. And so for those of you who don't know what that is, the market centers organize pie distribution. You place your orders for how many pies you want. I think last year we did pumpkin and apple. We buy them from Costco, and so we just pass the cost along to you. It's at cost. We don't make any money. We just organize it for you, so that all 579 of you don't have to go and place your own orders at Costco, right? So we just do it en masse. We also then get all the pies to the market center, so that all you have to do is either grab them and deliver them, or have your people come to the market center to pick them up. And yes, we are absolutely doing that again this fall. So what are you guys doing? So Jackie's answer could be, I'm plugging into that event, right? And I'm already developing the top 20 or 30 people in my database who I need to say thank you to, have a conversation with, and we'll work towards getting them into that opportunity, right? See, Jackie, I could read your mind. So what about everybody else? What are you doing to reach out and connect with your database?
Hey Rick, Ben Boger
Ben.
here. I don't know why my video is not on. I'm in the office. We're gonna start doing what Geo picked up on, the CMA a day challenge thing, I guess it's called. So in a video email format. I think it comes from contribution. It's very simple and fast to do, and it's very more exclusive. You know, instead of just a broad marketing campaign, this is exclusive per each potential client, say. And I like the idea of video, and it's not a hard sell. It's coming from contribution, and I think it will be something memorable, other than just like a email with just, you know, text. It's a video. They're gonna remember your face. They're gonna remember that video. So I'm gonna get started on that. I've done a couple of them just to get comfortable, and I'm gonna scale that out starting now.
I love that. And so what you're offering, Ben, so I'm clear, is you're offering the people in your database an updated opinion of value on their property, just in case they weren't aware that the market was kind of ratcheting out of control and that their house may be worth more than they think. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And it's, it's a video format. So just like Zoom, you could share your screen and actually show them the comps and talk to them while you're showing them these comps in real time. So it's kind of like them getting a sneak peek, behind the curtains a little bit. I think I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful it's going to pan into something for me.
I love it. That's a great idea. Nick, I do have to say that if you don't have enough for everybody,
I did just brew a whole pot. Whether or not I'm going to drink the whole thing by myself, I'm not sure about, but we'll see.
it's one thing we haven't figured out how to do yet, right? Is send food or drink through Zoom. We'll have to, once we figure that out, then we'll actually never have to actually see each other in person ever again. So I love that idea, Ben, and I love the fact that you're incorporating video into it, and I love the fact that it's about a service, right? And I want you guys to hear that, because what Ben said was it comes from contribution. That's not Ben trolling for business. It's Ben opening his database and saying, you know what, people in my world need to know that their home may be worth 50 or 60 or $100,000 more than it was 18 or 24 months ago. Because for some of those people, they may just be waiting to either recover from the 2008, 2009, 2010 experience that Fairfield County went through. Well, the country went through, but so they may have been literally waiting for a decade for their house value to come back. Well, what if they don't know? So the service is here. We want to make sure we keep you apprised of the value of your home. What if some people are like, wait a minute, my house is worth that much? I don't need all this space. Like, both of my kids are in college. Why am I keeping this house? Because if they wait another 2 years, guess what? We may be down from that peak. There may not be the momentum in the market that there exists today. There may not be the glut of buyers that are flooding the market, causing what seems to be inventory shortage. Did y'all hear me say that the other day? I'll repeat it just in case. We don't have an inventory shortage. And agents from one side of the county to the other keep talking, frankly, agents from one side of the state to the other, and likely across the country, keep saying that there's this inventory shortage. And if you run the numbers, that across the board, that is for the most part untrue. We have about the same amount of listings that we have had from the same time period for the past 6 years in a row. About the same. Small ups and downs, but certainly not this like dearth of listings. What's different is that we have more buyers for those listings than we've ever had before. So the issue is not a shortage of inventory. The issue is a massive oversupply of buyers, which feels like a shortage of inventory. However, it's not. Just to be clear and give you that information so that when you're talking to sellers and buyers, you're being accurate. Why is that important, that distinction? As a business owner, as a real estate business owner, why is that important to you, that distinction?
It depends. What are we talking about?
Well, we're talking about why is the idea that we don't have a shortage of inventory, instead an oversupply of buyers, an important distinction for you to have as a business owner?
It's a positive way of looking at the market instead of saying there aren't any houses for you to buy. There are.
Well, yeah. So Sherry Lee kind of nailed it, right? It's mindset up and down the page. It's mindset with your buyers, where the script is what Sherry Lee just said. There are houses for you to buy. You have to fight like hell for them, but there are houses. As a matter of fact, there are the same amount of houses this year as there were last year, as there were the year before that, the year before that, the year before that, and the year before that. There's just more competition. So it helps you redirect your energy to help you explain to buyers exactly what they have to do to win. What else?
We need to make our offers stronger, right?
Yeah, 100%. As a big part of that, the conversation with buyers needs to be, what are you going to do to set yourself apart? What contingencies are you going to strip? Right? What else?
For would-be
And if-
sellers, they're fairly confident right now that because they think that there's such a limited inventory that they can overprice their listing. Where in reality, if they overprice their listing, because we actually have normal inventory levels, your property's just going to sit.
Yeah, right. You have to be on purpose. You can't afford to just be willy-nilly. There still has to be that review of the data, and you have to make smart decisions about positioning, right? Here's the other thing for you guys on the listing side. When you recognize that there's not a shortage of inventory, I hope you'll stop telling yourselves or listening to people, even if it's your colleagues, who are saying things like, oh man, like I can't find a listing to save my life because there's just no listings out there. People aren't putting their houses on the market. Because that's false. It's untrue. Right? I know we live in a world where the truth doesn't seem to matter anymore. However, from a business owner's perspective, the truth matters. Like facts matter. I leave all the rest of it to whomever else. Right? But for you and the mindset of what you're going to do each morning, I spent a decade in the field where every morning when I got up, I asked myself the same question. And then it started, I just had my phone ask me the question. And the question was, what will you list today? And I just spent my entire day trying to answer that question. What was I going to list today? What are you listing today? What are you listing today? What are you listing today? Go ahead, Shirley.
Well, I was just going to say that the mindset thing is really important. I don't always know how I would respond to some people. I have some people who say, well, I don't want to sell my house now. I'm not going to be able to buy one. And if I do buy one, it's going to be way overpriced. I'm going to have to bid more than I would normally bid. And so I'm just going to wait for the feeding frenzy to end. And then buyers saying, I can't get a house. And I've lost 5 houses already. I can't get a house.
Yeah. And so what are you doing to help them? What are you doing to help them win? And what are you doing to help them weather that storm?
Well, I don't have the stats in my brain, but I know for someone buying a house, you just in 1 year, I think it's 6% to 9%. Like if you bought your house in January, the value of the house, what you bought, is already increased 6 to 9%. So you're building equity. So even if you think you're spending more than you would normally spend, or you want to wait till it dies down, we don't have a crystal ball. Let's just, these are what the stats are saying. So that's what I would say to them. And with the sellers, yeah, I have a couple of sellers that aren't even going to sign right now because they don't want to do it right now because they don't know where they're going to go.
Yeah. It's interesting to me how confused we sometimes get as buyers and then as agents for buyers, right? In that we buy into oftentimes the idea that our buyers put forth that the house they buy, they have to buy at such a price that it's a really good investment. And my question around that is, are you sure? Like if you're buying this house if you're buying it for investment and the numbers still work, okay, so I am also a professional investor, right? And I get asked all the time, have you stopped buying houses in the last 12 to 18 months? And I said, well, no, why would I stop? So, well, prices have gone through the roof. I'm like, well, yeah, that's right. The stuff I bought 5 or 6 years ago, man, I mean, I was buying things for 140 and 150 that are now worth $250,000 to $300,000 just because of appreciation. That's not why I bought them. I bought them because the numbers worked. Am I buying things today? The last 2 things I bought were each $239. Did I buy them? Yes. Why did I buy them? It's $80,000 more than I was spending. Well, yeah, but the numbers still worked. Right? If I spend this much money, I get this much in return. And as a percentage, the return on my investment still makes sense. So why would I stop? Right? It's always a good time to buy good real estate. And that's purely investment. When you're thinking about buying it to live in, there's a value to you living in that property, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer. It's where you're going to call home. I'm not saying make bad decisions, and I'm not saying purposely tank your investments. What I'm saying is, I'll give you a personal example. Yesterday, I made an offer. My grandmother is going to be 92 in March, and she is leaving Long Island and moving up to Ridgefield to be closer to me. Her children have kind of scattered. My aunts and uncles and my mother have kind of scattered, and she's moving now closer up to be closer to me. So yesterday, I found a condo that's close to me, and I'm buying that condo so that she can live in it. And doing the numbers and what should the offer be and how should we structure it and all this stuff. And I thought to myself, you know what? This particular unit needs a couple of updates. And so as we were weighing the pros and cons of the offer to make, like, well, this one had this, and so maybe this one should not be quite as much as that one. Like, I don't think that matters, because the value of it being a first floor unit with no stairs and the parking space right outside of the thing, like all things that my 93-year-old grandmother needs, those outweigh the fact that I might have to replace the kitchen cabinets, right? And so what am I saying? What I'm saying is I'm willing to spend what I have to spend to purchase something that makes sense for her, because she's going to live there. And 10 years from now, maybe I overpaid for it as an investment. Is that going to tank my life? So the point I'm trying to make here is, I think we sometimes have to help buyers look a little more objectively at their purchase than they oftentimes do, right? Buyers tend to be really emotional and subjective, and you need that emotion involved in the process. But if it's all emotion and no objectivity, no logic, there's an imbalance there. And that's when people say, no, I can't possibly spend that. Nope, I can't put, nope. One of the ways you help them say yes is to help them look at it from a business perspective. Like, this purchase is a business purchase for you. You'll also happen to live there. And by the way, the fact that you're going to live there, there's a value to that. I don't know. You don't have to agree with me, right? But it's the way I look at it. Say it again, Shirley.
When she's 102, 10 years from now, that'll be really wonderful.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. I can tell you that the one person who doesn't really look forward to 102 is my 92-year-old grandmother. She's like, really? What am I going to do at 102, for God's sake? Like, I don't know, probably the same thing you're doing now at 92. Do you see the point I'm making? I know I'm kind of going on and on about this, but do you see the point I'm making in terms of helping people win? Remember, leadership is about teaching people how to think so that their behavior follows their thinking and they get the results they want when they want them. That's the role of leadership. And in with your database, with your buyers and sellers, with your clients, you need to show up from the perspective of being that leader, being the industry leader, to say, here's what I can offer to you to help you, which is not about opinion, right? It's about objective fact and how to look at something a little differently. It's about offering perhaps perspective by asking great questions. All right, we're down a big old bunny trail. What else? What else do you want to make sure we cover today to make sure that you get value? Nada? All right, so I'll go back to my other question. All right, Sherry Lee, I'll get to investing in just a second. Let me go back to my other question. What else are you doing with your database right now, which is when we need to be working with our database? So well, I'll just ask the question. I was going to do a little poll, right? How many people on this call have spoken either face-to-face, Zoom to Zoom, or phone to phone with everybody in their database in the last 90 days? Right? So if your answer to that is no, you're behind. So here's the good news. The good news is now you just know what to do. Like we finish in 23 minutes. So in 24 minutes, just start reaching out to your database.
I'm
heard
just
me.
starting, oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead, Donald.
I'm just starting to create my database. I've been back in real estate for 3.5 years and I never had one, which I know seems insane. But I can't wait to get it going and work it.
Yeah, well, to me, that's like a level of excitement, right? You created a level of success without one of your main tools,
That's
right?
right.
So it's like a builder who went out there and like built some decent houses all without a saw. Right? Imagine what you could do with a saw. Imagine what you can do with a database if you were able to create success without one.
Yes, I'm excited.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome, right? And so step number one is have one. Here's what I want you to not get caught up in. However, don't get caught up in making sure it's perfect and making sure it's at least 900 people. And if you have 75 people right now, start there. That's your current database. So start there. If you have phone numbers, call or text them. Hey, how's it going? Just checking in. What a crazy 18 months it's been. I just wanted to see how you were doing. Give me a shout. It doesn't have to be a business connected call, especially if you haven't reached out to people in a while or ever. Then I encourage simply a personal outreach first. Because then you earn the right, once you've kind of broken the ice with a personal, hey, how's it going? You've earned the right now to follow up with a more business oriented contact the next time. I love Amin's answer. Grow your database. Yep, 100%. But here's my caution about growing the database. Don't get so caught up in growing it that you forget to communicate with the ones that you already have. Right? Because simply growing the database and building that big bucket of people is not the same as the conversion, that communication, constant communication and outreach to the bucket of people creates. And I see people get caught up in that. I will tell you a quick story. I had one agent come to me one time and say, well, you talk all about database all the time. I don't think anybody has a database like mine. I said, well, tell me about it. And she said, well, I have 10,000 people in my database. Now, remember, like I sign the checks. Like I know how much each of you make from real estate each year. It's like, you can't hide that. Well, now we direct deposit the checks, but I do review the direct deposits, right? So the idea of coming to me and saying, I have 10,000 people in my database, I can't imagine that she thought I would be that impressed with that. And so what I said was, that's great. I'm curious. What's your conversion techniques for those 10,000 people? And she said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, I'm curious, of those 10,000 people, if I dialed those 10,000 people and mentioned your name, how many of those 10,000 would say, oh, so-and-so, I love her. She's my realtor. She's great at what she does. How many of the 10,000? That cut short that conversation pretty quickly, I have to tell you, right? Because I knew what the answer was. The answer was a small number of that database actually knew who this person was. So collecting names, and I mean, I know that's not what you meant. I'm just using your example, which I thought was a great answer to expound upon the traps that I sometimes see people get into, right? It's not about finding 10,000 names. Guys, the phone book has more than that. What good is the phone book to you? Right now we're back to cold calling. You can go through the phone book and call strangers. The value in your database is people who know you, like you, trust you, and are already predisposed to do business with you. and the constant communication with them from a service perspective, from a business perspective, from a community perspective, you mix all those things in, now you've got the makings of a database that will actually kick back returns. So step number one, have a database. Step number two, call them. One of the things we're going to talk about tonight in Ignite, either tonight or tomorrow, I can't remember which one, because I look around, I see many of you are in that class again. Or was what to say? Like what do I say? That's great. You tell me to have this database and reach out and talk to people. Well, what do I say to them? We'll give you better scripts and Ignite on that. But here's my quick answer. Like, just be human. Just be human. I mean, there is a reality. I don't know Nick from a hole in the wall, right? He and I have never met in person. Am I correct about that? Right? I've never met in person. I think I've seen him for the last week or two on Zoom calls, right? If it's longer than that, I'm sorry.
2 days, Rick, 2 days.
Okay, so for the last 2 days, right, I've seen him on Zoom calls. Now, I could call him and have a conversation with him. And I could have probably a 5 or 10 minute conversation just to kind of find out about him, what his interests are, what his life has been like up until this moment in real estate, what brought him to real estate, what his expectations are, how I could help. I could ask a whole bunch of questions. I could offer assistance. I could do a whole bunch of things with Nick, who I don't know at all. And so if I can do that with Nick, who I don't know at all, think about the simple conversations that you can have, the simple human connective conversations you can have with the people in your database, because they know you, like you, trust you, and are already predisposed to do business with you. Do you see my point? And here's the other thing. Any one of you could call Nick and have that same kind of conversation. What's cool is that you'll each come at it from a different perspective, right? You'll ask Nick different questions. Some of you might have a 2-minute conversation. Some of you might have a 35-minute conversation, right? And now it depends on Nick's behavioral style as to whether or not he'll allow a 35-minute conversation to go on, right? Or does he prefer it kind of short and sweet? Like, give me the highlights here and let's move on. But you could each do that if your business depended on it. What I'm attempting to communicate to you is your business does depend on it. And it's easier than calling and having a conversation with someone that you don't know anything about. Because the people in your database, you already know. Questions, comments, concerns? Am I making sense? You just all going inward, thinking, who am I going to call at 2:01 today? Is that what's happening?
I think what's really helpful for my thinking, if you don't mind me talking, is saying a number, saying I'm going to call one person or 5 people or 10 people, whatever it is, and then being able to get to the end of the day knowing I've done that, no matter what the success or whatever it is, but just, and I could do more, but that my minimum is whatever the number is, that I get that number. If it's 1, 2, 5, 10, whatever it is a day or a week, because maybe some days you could do 20 or 30 calls and another day you can't do any.
Yeah.
But setting the task and having a successful feeling of completing it.
And Sherry Lee, what you said something really crazy important that I want to repeat to everybody, and that is setting a winnable number, right? If you've never reached out to your database before, don't decide that you're going to sit in a room for 3 hours and contact 100 people until you get an appointment. Like you might as well go and bang your head against a wall. That's like a version of self-inflicted torture. Don't do that, because you're likely not to find a win, because you won't get through 3 hours, or you won't get to 100, or you won't find the appointment. So instead, set up a winnable game for yourself. Sherry Lee said, what if I called one person or 5 people in one day? Well, what if you did that? And you got to the end of the day and said, wow, you know what? I communicated with those 5 people today. Good on me. And then you woke up the next day and said, you know what? I had success yesterday. I'm going to do it again. And I'm going to go for another 5 people today. And then you did it on Wednesday, and you did it on Thursday, and maybe you give yourself Friday off. And now you've had a week of successful, this is what I'm going to do, and I followed up and did it. And then Monday morning comes along again, you say, you know what? I did it last week, I can do it again this week. And you do another 5 a day, bing, bam, boom, for 4 days. And then by week 3, maybe Sherry Lee says, you know what? I actually got an appointment from last Thursday's conversations. I might add a day, I might add Friday into this. But it's still 5 a day, but now it's 5 days a week. And 60 days in, after all of these check marks and these little happy dances and victories, because you've set something up, a simple system that you're now achieving, you feel like there's a win there. You feel like you're in alignment, you're in integrity with your own decisions. Now you get to decide. Sherry Lee says, you know what? 5 is kind of easy. Maybe I'll do 6. Maybe I'll do 8. It's not all or nothing, guys. As a matter of fact, I have seen that fail more times than I've seen it work. Do something small. Create incremental success for yourself. Be 1% better today than you were yesterday, and just continue to give yourself wins. That's how you create consistency. And from consistency comes comfort. And from comfort comes, yes, you guessed it, more consistency, right? It's just a circle. I had to have some tough love with one of my private coaching clients recently. 2 things came from it. He kept saying to me, you know, before COVID, I was doing all this lead generation. I was really good at it. I had all my scripts down. I would get through my database. I would get through this. I would call expireds. Before COVID, I did that, but since COVID, you know, it's just a whole new thing. So the first thing I did was I banned, some of you were on the call when I mentioned this to you a couple of weeks ago. I banned the terms before COVID and since COVID from his vocabulary. I would encourage you to do the same. I refuse to say it, because it just ends up being an excuse. Are things different than they were 18 months ago? Sure they are. Are things also the same? Sure. Is enough the same that you can still create success for yourself as a business owner in real estate? Uh-huh. So be careful about the language you use. So after we banned that, I said, okay, now repeat what you said to me without that phrase. And he said, okay, so what did I say? Think about it. He said, since COVID, I'm just not consistent with reaching out to my database. Okay, so now take that phrase out. Just tell me flat out. I'm just not consistent with reaching out to my database. Okay, good. Well, now we can fix that. Because you don't have this whole since COVID thing cushioning what you're not doing. You're just making an objective statement. I'm not being consistent reaching out to my database. Great, I'm curious. Would you like to be? Well, yes. Why would you like to be? What's the reason behind that? Well, because when I do that, I create opportunities for myself for appointments and listings and buyers and closings and income. Okay, is that beneficial to you? Yes. Great. When do you think you'll start? Well, how about tomorrow? I think tomorrow's awesome. What time tomorrow? Well, 8:30. Okay, excellent. And what's the target number? Well, 5. Excellent. Can you report back to me tomorrow night by 7 o'clock that you've hit that target of reaching out to 5 people in your database tomorrow? Yes. Great. What's the consequence if you don't? And the consequence he determined was if he didn't hit his numbers, I talked to him every 2 weeks, that by the next time our call came around, I would ask for a report, or I would look at my report of how many wins he had versus how many times he ignored it. And if there weren't at least 8 out of 10 wins, we get to have a quick conversation that said, unfortunately, you didn't hit your target. So I'd like you to go back and make sure you hit it this week. Have a lovely afternoon. Bye. Click. That's how Gary used to coach us. You didn't do the work, you didn't get his time. And oh, by the way, he pays me for my time. So you didn't do the work, click. That was an expensive 2 minutes. Guess what? We're in week 6. Business is picking up bigger and better than ever. As it should be, based on what's going on in the market, right? And based on the consistency of the activities that this person has now put in place. By being helpful at all, by describing these things to you, what I hope I'm able to do today is kind of help you shift your mindset around the things that are important. How are we thinking about the things that are most important? If what we say is we want to make money in real estate, well, there's a way to do that. It's not difficult. Let me restate that. It's not complicated, right? Sometimes it's difficult. It's not complicated. It's actually quite simple. We just have to tame the human inside of us to say, yeah, I have to do things that maybe make me uncomfortable. They're only going to make me uncomfortable for a little bit, and then I'm going to create comfort. How many of you drive a car? Just by a quick show of hands. Did you ever not know how to drive a car? Yeah, of course. Right? Did you ever like get in the car and go like this? Did you ever like not see a stop sign? Did you like when you were learning how to drive a car, you made mistakes. You drove too slow, you drove too fast, you went up on the curb because you didn't know how to the turning radius of the car, right? Some of you maybe even backed into something. Who knows? But now when you get in the car to run to the store or pick up your kid or run to the office, do you even think about how to drive? You don't. You don't think about how to drive at all. You just get in and do it. Same thing here. You have to move yourself to a level of consistency around your database, around your ability to find business from the place that it is for many of you, which is that place of, oh, I feel a little rusty. I feel like I don't have this 100% down, just to a place of getting in the car and going. You don't even think about it. And just like the way you did that driving a car, it just comes from doing it. You just do it over and over and over and over and over again. Shirley.
I feel like a road hog, but I want to thank you because you've reminded me that I can, every day I can just start. I can just start today. I've been on an 11-month marathon with one house, as you know, that was emotionally very draining and whatever, and it's done. And it's sort of like when I did theater and you do a play and you practice, rehearse, and then the play is over and there's no more play. And it's like, what do I do now? And so now you kind of reminded me to sort of get my juju back and just start. And even if it's one tomorrow, I haven't lost anything. I'm starting now, and it's not. So thank you. I appreciate you.
You're quite welcome. And thank you for saying what you just said, because I want to underline those words you just said. I haven't lost. That's what Shirley just said. I haven't lost. You're right. You haven't lost. Yesterday is yesterday. Unless you have a hot tub time machine somewhere in your house, you can't go back to yesterday. So who cares what happened yesterday? It's not relevant. Let's just start today and move forward, right? I'll tell you that a number of years ago, I I made a decision that instead of, I still build goals around a calendar year, like that January to December thing, but I don't really monitor my goals that way anymore. I set goals 12 months out. It's a rolling 12 months. Like my goals for myself for today are from September 29th through September 28th of 2022. It's a, like, what will I accomplish in a rolling 12 months? It's never, it's because what I found for myself is then I get to look and say, okay, where I am is less relevant than where I'm going, right? If you look at a calendar year from a goals perspective and how you've done and use that as a barometer and judgment around where you are and where you've been, well, if you're killing it, sometimes you start to slow down. Like, well, look at me. I'm like way ahead of my goals. I can just kind of cruise for the next couple of months. Or if you're not killing it, if you're behind, you sometimes get a little like depressed and distracted. Like, oh man, how am I ever going to create all of this business by the end of the year? Right? I might as well just stop. I might as well give up on that and just restart in January. And to me, that was always this like constant push and pull of like an emotional roller coaster. And I started to feel a little schizophrenic. So I thought, all right, well, how do I not feel schizophrenic? And so for me, I just decided, you know what, my goals are always going to be rolling 12 months. Where do I want to be 12 months from now? And so it's a constant look ahead of 12 months with a focus on the next 90 days. Because I really can't control what happens 6 to 9 months out. I can control what happens in the next couple of weeks, right? The next 12 to 13 weeks. So if that's helpful for anybody, I'm not saying don't build annual goals. Again, I still do. I do it for my businesses. I do it for myself. There is that version of goal setting that is calendar oriented. But once I set them, I monitor those goals based on the next 12 months. So if I'm killing it, like I'll give you an example. The market centers right now, after the last 12 months, we are, after 8 months of business, we are already at the goals that we set for the entire year for 2021, right? So September, October, November, and December, it's all just going to be blowing those goals out of the water. And so it's easy to look at that and say, okay, so we accomplished what we set out to accomplish. We've made the money, we've done this, we've check, 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 and check. Instead, when you look 12 months ahead, you think to yourself, okay, well, none of that really matters because we've done what we've done. What does the next 30 days look like? What if we now wanted to have the absolute best October we've ever had? What would that look like? Regardless of where we are in our year, because it's not really relevant. If I want to have the best October I've ever had, I need to look ahead. I need to look backwards to see where I've been in October, set a bar, and then say, okay, let's just go do that. What if we had the best fourth quarter we've ever had? What does that look like? So it's all forward facing, and we don't have to get distracted by all the noise of either the success or failure that you've had beforehand. So thank you, Shirley, for putting that out, because you haven't lost. Just start today, right? You can be just as brilliant today as you would have been yesterday. All right, guys, it is 2 o'clock. I do hope this was helpful. And so do me a favor. We have these every single month. So come back and think about some challenges that you may be having, right? So we can make that even more interactive and ask each other questions that you can help each other with so that you're getting information from your peers, not just from me per se. Because trust me, each of you out in the field is way more powerful in terms of how you're moving things forward than I am. Because I'm not in the field every day, right? So there's a perspective that I don't bring to the table. So come back with have a month of experience, have a month of being out in the field, figure out where you're weak and where you're strong. And then let's come back a month from now and figure out exactly what questions you need to ask each other to solve some issues or share some successes with one another. Make sense? All right, guys. Have a great day. I'll see you. I'll see some of you in a couple of hours. And don't forget, if you're in Ignite, 3 o'clock, Debbie starts the command training, and then I'll come in at 4. So we'll see you in a little bit. Bye, have a good one.
Start the whole thing. So this is command for the MREA. And MREA, of course, means Millionaire Real Estate Agent. The idea is to use this tool to communicate with your clients, with your sphere, and really maintain good relationships and also track all of your business. And it's a very, very powerful tool. We say everything begins with contacts. And that's because if you don't have people that you're working with, you don't need to be doing anything else. You can make beautiful marketing materials, but if you don't have people, they don't do you any good. We're going, and I think it's important to begin with the end in mind. What do you want to be able to do for your clients and using this tool? So we're going to set up, what's a database? We're starting with database with contacts. A database is nothing more than people you know. I'm often asked, well, should I put inspectors in my database, home inspectors? Should I put mortgage people in my database? Should I put attorneys in my database? Should I put my kids' soccer parents in my database? The answer is yes. Put everybody in your database. Make this a one-stop shop for you, where everything is located in one place. We're going to, oh, I want to open up one little thing. Let's see if I can find this very quickly and share this. Yep, there we go. And I'm going to share my screen. And we'll start up at the top here. Okay, and I'm going to do one more quickie. Just hold on one second. Whoop, there you are. We'll mute everybody. There we go. If you have questions, I'm going to invite you to put them in the chat. Whoop, that's not where we want to be. There we are. And I'm going to pull this little guy over here. Okay. So I'll go give us more space. There we go. Can everybody see these slides? Are you good?
Yes, Debbie.
Thank you. So we're looking at mastering your management of all of your contacts. And it begins with contact entry and then edits. And I can't overestimate that you're going to be constantly kind of stirring the pot in your contacts and touching people and changing data in their contact records, and then moving prospects to clients to sales. And you do that all the way through command. Gary has created 4 laws of lead generation. This is an element of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. It's build your database. It's feed it every day. Every single day, you should be out there talking to people and collecting information that you can add to your database. Then communicate with it in a systematic way, and that will be dealt with in the different aspects of command in the weeks to come, and service all the leads that come your way. It's a little poem that tells you what you're going to do with your database. We're going to cover today entering a single contact or entering one contact at a time. I'm going to save entering many contacts with an upload to either a one-on-one with people who already have databases or later in the process, because it's a little bit different and a little bit tricky. What you want to have a good, solid, healthy database, you want the following data. You want their full name, you want a phone number, and cell phone is preferred. Does anybody have any idea why that is?
Texting.
Yeah, texting.
100%. And in Command, you have a system that you can do bulk texting, which is magical. Certainly an email, a good email address, and their primary mailing address, which is their mailing address. And then we put over here one of the most important pieces, which is one tag, at least one tag, which talks about what category are they or who are they. And that helps you enormously in manipulating your database. And then you can add some more information to the contact, which comes in very handy. And I'll show you where you do this on the contact record. You can add their birthday, if you know that. You can add what we call their home anniversary, which is when did they buy their home. You can literally in Command add their a direct link to their social media page. I'll show you where to do that. And then you can add some custom tags, such as what is their primary language. And it could also be, what is their preferred beverage? Do they like red wine? Do they like white wine? Do they have a special Pinot Grigio they prefer? Or are they ice cream people? I mean, it's just special things to remind you how to reward people when they do nice things for you. The next piece, I think we're going to go from here right over to actual command. So let me pull my command into the screen so you can see it. All right, now is everybody seeing my home screen, my home command screen? Nods, thumbs up.
Yes.
Cool. Okay, good. So when you log into Command, and in your orientation, you should have been connected to Command. The login is agent.kw.com. And you'll get a login screen that you should have the username and the password for. We're not going to talk about that today. When you get to open this up, this is the screen that you will see. Now you can customize your home screen. My home screen is customized and it has tasks that I need to do. I've put Notepad over here, and then it lets me know if there are new leads that I have not claimed. The leads, I haven't run campaigns or Facebook ads for about a month, it looks like. So I don't have any brand new leads. And then I put my goals down underneath so I can check it. And the database health score. And on the right, a reminder, this then feeds itself to tell me what the new designs are that I can look at. It's the front page. This is the home page. When you click on this red box, it opens up all these icons and tells you what each of them is. So the first one is contacts. Then you have tasks. If you've given yourself a reminder to make a phone call or to attend an appointment or to send a note or whatever your task is. Then you have what we call smart plans, which are, these are things we're going to address this 2 weeks from now. And it's how to set up drips so that you can stay in touch with people. Very simple, very powerful. Referrals is your connection to all of your, the Keller Williams agents in the system. You can look up agents, and we can go over that at some point and look at some of the strategies in finding a referral agent for you anywhere in the world, basically. And then opportunities. When we get to this, this is about tracking your business. And then I'm going to save all the rest of these for later. The rest of this is pretty much related to marketing. And we'll hit that in 3 weeks and 4 weeks from now. But we're going to click into the contacts. And you'll see that you have a lot of fields up here at the top. You have a search field. Where you can put first name, last name, email. If you've received an email and for some reason you don't know who it came from, their address, and do a search of who's in your database. You have filters here, which open up a screen that allow you to search by various fields. And then you have smart views, which are different arrangements of how you have your database installed. So across this way, you won't have lead pool. That's a team function. But you will have, I'm going to just click on a whole line of contacts here and show you this bulk action tag, which allows you to do some activity on the contacts in bulk. For example, you can tag them in bulk, or you can remove tags in bulk. You can add them to a smart plan. You can add an activity. You can send a text message. So you can communicate with them in bulk through that. You just need to select one of the contacts and you have access to all of these activities. I'm going to show you one of my groups. And I think I'll go to this group because it gives you a sense of how the tags can be used. And I'm not going to be specific yet about the tags, but these are people who are in they're my most, I call them my VIP clients. And they have, I interact with them regularly and in lots of different ways. And so I have those all specified by tags. But my homepage here includes tags, their primary phone, their email, and their primary address, because that's the data that is the most helpful to me. I want to be able to see that at a glance. And so I've set that up so that it works, so that it's very functional. We're going to go back in here and I'm going to add a contact. And let me go back to somebody who I spoke to this morning. I know what I'm going to do. I'll do this. Does anybody have any questions up to this point?
The tags that you made, Debbie, those are what you created those, or those are like static and pre-created in the system?
The colored ones are tags that I've made.
Got it. Okay. Thanks.
And I'm going to show you a system for setting up your tags. That's one thing that we're going to definitely cover today before we finish, because it's very important. So we're going to,
Debbie, can I ask you a quick question?
of course,
On the previous slide, to the left of it was a 70-page brochure that you were showing.
a 70-page brochure.
I believe it was.
I'm not sure what that was.
When you started showing the command where it said contact entry, contact edits, contacts to clients. It was that first page that you showed.
Oh, on my PowerPoint.
Yeah, yeah, that one. To the left of that, it looks like slides or a brochure. Is that those slides, or is that a?
These are just slides. Yes, these are just the slides that go in here.
I was just wondering if we can get our hands on it.
Yeah.
So that,
yep.
so that we could review it individually when we had.
100%. I have this in Keynote. I can share with you. I'll figure out how to share it with you.
That would be great.
Okay.
But only because I think it's a lot for, at least for me.
It's a lot of information. This is a lot of
Yeah,
information.
to take in an hour.
Yes, 100%. And what I want to do, and tell me if I get off track, I want to take you from left to right so you see all of the buttons and what those buttons do. And then I'm going to hopefully get you to a point that you can implement with and start adding contacts to your database. Okay. So here we are on the contact page, and I'm going over here to the add contact button. Here, and I'm going to do a quick aside. Don't be afraid of this tool. You cannot break it. You cannot break it. So click around in it, see what you see what you find, and don't be afraid of it. We're going to do the very basic, which when you click on add a contact, you get all of this information. And this is on the one slide we said, what do we want? A full name, a primary email, a primary phone, and a primary address. And the address you have to go down one more layer to find. But I'm going to put somebody in here. And This is someone I spoke with this morning in my lead generation. I'm going to come back and put her phone in because I don't have it in front of me. I thought I did, but I don't. No, I'll come back and put that in after the fact. So I'm going to put a lead source in here that I was doing. Let's see. You can see there are a lot of different options for lead sources. Let's see if I go here. So I did this through some prospecting, and there's my name. You can mark people as a lead, or you can add them to the sales pipeline. I'm going to do neither on this one. I'm going to make a tag for her. I call her a nurture seller. She's also an expired listing. And that's enough for right now. That will tell me how to communicate with her. And then I need to go down and put her address in. And I'm going to put her address in. When you start typing the address in the primary address category, Google Maps pulls up suggestions for you. And you can see Three Meadow has several suggestions, which may or may not be the right one. That one I'm going to say is the right one. I click same as mailing address. And then you see here, you have access to finding the person's Facebook link. And what you would do there is go into Facebook, find their page, if they're your friend, take the URL and put it right here in the Facebook spot. Does anybody want me to show you how to do that? Or do you get that under that process? You want me to show you that? Yes, no? No?
Yes, please.
Yes? Okay. Let's go here. I will find. I'm going to pretend it's Dan Raposo. You find the person and you go to their page just by clicking on their name. Then you go to the URL, copy it, and paste it right there. And then when you go to, you can go down here also, and you see, here's where you add birthdays, home anniversaries. If somebody has this person has a son, she's a widow, and his name is, all right, I'm going to add that person as a, oh, I'm sorry, clicked the wrong button. As a, in the relationships, if somebody has a spouse, you can add the spouse here. If you know who they work for, you can put the company name in here, and then you just click create. And now in my, oh, I didn't put an email. Right. You have to have a valid email in order to do this. So, oh, I did do that. I did put in, oh, I see. Okay. It thinks it's invalid because I put a space in there. So as I said, you can't make a mistake. You can't break it because it won't let you proceed with a mistake. See that? And now it's fixed. And there we go. Any questions about entering a contact?
When you're doing digital campaigns, whatnot, a lot of these lead sources will allow you to dump right into your CRM. Does Command have that capability to accept that automatic download for a digital campaign that you might be running?
So talk a little bit more about that. A digital campaign that's running where?
Anywhere on the internet, on a Facebook paid campaign, you know,
Facebook paid campaigns is integrated with Command. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful, yes, 100%. And we'll get to that. It's a fabulous, beautiful thing.
Okay. Or if you just did like a AdWords campaign, which is what I do sometimes, and sometimes you could fill out a form that will dump right into your CRM. Is this compatible with something like that?
So it's probably going to be a two-step process. With an AdWords campaign, you probably have to take the CSV and then do the multiple upload.
Okay.
Yes. And again, we'll show you that down the road.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, yeah, 100%. Any other questions? So what I would very strongly suggest is that you go to your Christmas card list, go to your address book if you still have it, go to your phone, and add at least 5 people every day into your contacts. Add 5 people. It will take you about, at first, it'll probably take you about 20 minutes to add 5 people. It gets faster as you do it. And do as much information as you can, but certainly that basic amount of information. Now I'm going to show you another thing when you look at the contact record itself. It will tell you what the contact's health score is. And the health score is just a way of knowing how comprehensively you are able to communicate with that person. If you have a phone number, you have a full name, a phone number, an email address, and a mailing address, that takes you up into the 80%. And then whatever else, I think I probably have Diane's Facebook connected here as well. So that takes me up a little bit higher. Just to show you what you are able to do here, when you have their primary address, Command creates a neighborhood for them. And the neighborhood, and this is the neighborhood that I did not connect, I didn't do anything to make this neighborhood. Command made the neighborhood based on the primary address. This is where you can, again, communicate with your contacts and send them market information directly and automatically. It's a beautiful thing. And look at what they get. It looks fabulous, doesn't it? Isn't this cool? And this is their neighborhood. This is this area, which is right where they live, and it shows them what's on the market around their house. And then, oh, by the way, when they scroll down, there you are.
Deb, I didn't
need a-
hear. How,
I need a, wow, that's cool.
yeah, that is cool. I have a question for you. How do you, so you put them in and they show, the neighborhood obviously shows up based on the address, but how are you sending them? You're just emailing that to them?
That's going to be, let's see. See this thing that says smart
Oh,
plans
that's
right
through the
here?
Smart Plan, you're sending it to them.
Yep.
Okay.
It's,
Yeah, I have to learn the
it's
Smart
my
Plan.
team monthly neighborhood nurture. That's a neighborhood nurture smart plan. She gets that once a month.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Debbie,
Yes.
no, I'm talking to Debbie. Debbie, I had no idea that, because I've always heard this talk about neighborhood nurture or whatever. I always thought all you need is their phone number and their address. I mean, their phone number and their email. I was not getting their addresses a lot of times.
Well, okay, so here's, this creates itself automatically if you have their primary address. If you don't have their primary address in your database, you can add a neighborhood manually by putting in an address. And oh, by the way, it doesn't have to be their neighborhood. They might be looking at properties in Georgia or in California or someplace else. You can set them up with a neighborhood any place in the country. Huh? Is that cool?
I just think it's cool that if you put their neighborhood, I mean, if you put their address in, then their neighborhood automatically pops up. I had no idea.
You can do it. You can do it either way. And we'll go through this more comprehensively in 2 weeks when we do smart plans. Okay. But so you've got all of their contact information over here on the left, and over on the right, you have what they call the timeline, but you also have all of the other connections to all of the other applets in the system. So you have opportunities, again, which is where you track your transactions. You have smart plans, which is where you drip on them or send them emails. You have the task button, and you have a notes button. And I'm going to show you something that's very cool. I mean, I think the whole thing is very cool.
Can I ask you
Yeah.
a question? So if you were to send neighborhood information, how does that compare with, and this is outside of command, if you were to send them information directly from the SML?
MLS?
And I'm sorry, MLS.
The MLS, this is the data that comes through command is coming through IDX, which is through the MLS. So they should be seeing real time from the MLS, the information. It's more up to date than realtor.com or Zillow. It's very up to date. Okay, and we're just, what I just showed you was just neighborhood nurture, right? Just their neighborhood. It's not a big search. It's not the same thing as sending them a search. It's just telling them about what's happening in their neighborhood, right?
Also, this will be a different direction, but could you also give them the information? Could you access it the same way as you did on MLS for different towns, not just the immediate area?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. So yeah, we can, and we'll go over that a little bit later.
Okay.
So now I came off of the contact record card, and I'm in the group. This is a group of my contacts that I call raving fans. This is my inner circle, my VIP list. And I just sent them a postcard, and there are 114 people in this group. So let's continue across here, looking at the different
categories here. So you can decide how many how many contacts you want to show at one time on the screen. And it can go from as few as 10 contacts up to 500. Most of my smart views are up to 500 because it just is simpler. But you can shrink that down to as few as 10 people. In here, I have the 500 checked. So it shows all of the 114 people at one time. Otherwise, it would only show me 100 people. Right now, what I don't want to do is a bulk action. So remember this button here that says select bulk action? What I did yesterday was I sent all these people a postcard. If you were on the Crush It call this morning, you saw the let me come take a picture of your house while it still looks beautiful, because winter is coming and houses don't show as well in the winter. So I sent them that postcard. I select bulk action, and then I'm going to add a note. And the note is going to say sent postcard. Whatever you want to say, that's kind of clunky, but when I save that, guess what's happened? I'll choose Mr. Evan here and go into his card. And in the timeline, it shows me that I sent a postcard. It also shows me all the other things that have happened over the course of time. He's been touched for various activities by email, by smart plans. He has a smart plan running. He has the monthly neighborhood nurture running, and also texts I've sent to him. So, and you can keep track of all the stuff that you've done for any of your contacts. The history is always there. And everybody in this list, we move to Patty Byrne. Patty Byrne got sent a postcard. Dennis Bell got sent a postcard. And just by doing that bulk action, all of them are now posted with what happened on this date. Let's go straight to the system for tagging. Any other questions?
I have a
before we do
question.
that? Yeah.
You sent the postcard, but did command help you in any way send that postcard? Like did command print your address labels when you did the bulk, or the bulk is just a note?
Oh, I
in there?
love you, Ronnie. I love you, Ronnie. Yes, command printed my labels, and I love this feature.
Wow.
Watch this. So I'll show you that as a bulk feature as well. Export mailing labels as PDF. So I clicked on all the names. I click on export. My export was successful. Check my notifications. Here's one trick. You need to refresh right here. Refresh your screen. And then check your notifications. This is your notification bell. When your contacts communicate with you, you get a notification. When a transaction is processed by your MCA, you get a notification. You need to check your notifications pretty regularly. Your team mailing labels is complete. Tap to download. You download it. You have to have some kind of PDF reader on your computer. You open it up and voila, there they are. They are beautiful. Is that not fabulous?
I think it's crazy. I still gotta figure out how I'm gonna do it, but okay.
It's okay, pause. What's the most important thing for you to do? Get as many names and as much accurate information as you can into your database. That's why this is so important, because the power of this program is beyond, okay? I love that. Okay, so you saw how we make, we can do a bulk action and make multiple the same note on the records, and also how you can do mailing labels, and they're just fabulous. I'm going to, I think I'm going to bring this over. There we go. There we go. Got to grab it right. 1 second. It's coming. All right. In Command, you have, let me show you this. We'll do a demonstration of adding a tag. It will open up for me. Come on. There we go. And now I'm going to add a new tag, and I'm going to call it and it says create. This is the 1-by-1 way you can do that. You go to tags and you start typing, and if it doesn't already exist, you create a custom tag. What I want you to see is you can color these tags, any of these colors. This is custom tags. So you're making the tag. Here's what you must do. You must create your system first. Don't just willy-nilly throw tags in here. And I'm going to show you a couple of ways to do a system of tags, and keep it simple. But you have all of these colors, which means think of those as different categories of sorting that you would want to do, different titles, different ways of thinking about the contact that you have. And then I'm going to show you, go from there to, nope. We'll go out and out to here. And let's make this a little bigger. There we go. Is that pretty legible for you? Good. So I'm showing you that it doesn't matter what you call these things or how you look at these things. Just think about what you want. And here are the categories that I've used. So I have the white category I call vendors. Let's see if there's a way for me to make this any bigger. Are you able to see the print on this? Are you reading it pretty well?
I can.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So white labels are vendors, such as attorney, appraiser, home inspector. That's all of the vendors category. My red labels are real estate. So I have an agent Connecticut, agent Fairfield County, agent NYC, Keller Williams agent, agent Westchester. I have also Keller Williams agents in the tri-state and Keller Williams agents everywhere else. When I see a red tag, it means that's a real estate agent. Oh, two other categories I have are Market Center 612 and Market Center 471, because I send things to all of you guys too. And orange tag, I've made lead source. So in other words, where did the lead come from? Where did this person come from? How do I know this person? When I see an orange tag, that tells me how I was introduced to this person or how I know this person. What are some of those categories? Facebook leads. I also put the house address. What that means is the house address of either the public open house, the POH, public open house, where I met the person, or the Facebook ad where they came in. That may be a little bit obsessive, but it tells me what kind of properties they were looking at. And it helps me to kind of maybe make a package of listings to forward to them, or gives me a head start when I'm talking to them about, I saw you at this house. Is that the kind of property that you're looking for? It gives you a lot of information right up front. If it came from my market leader site or the internet or Zillow or expired, or if it was a for sale by owner, or if it was an agent to agent lead. In other words, you see, it's all the different sources where the contact can have come from. My yellow is kind of a throwaway category. This is just me. I've used it as a catch-all. I put town halls and all the town hall information with a yellow tag. I put whether they have no phone or no email, or if they have unsubscribed to texts. I make a special tag for that so that I don't communicate with them incorrectly. The teal tag I've used for my DTD2. And if you've been playing with us in the business builders, we talk about DTD2 and dialing through the A's and W's, or this week we're doing Y and Z, very short list. Next week, it's a bigger list, A and W. But we've broken the alphabet down by 2 letters per week, and we call through those people. And oh, by the way, in command, I have them all labeled so that all I have to do is pull that label up and dial through that list. It's awesome. This kind of colonial blue is where I put what smart plan I have the people registered to. So if they're on a neighborhood nurture, I have a monthly NN, monthly neighborhood nurture, and I have them labeled that way. It just makes it easy to know who's tagged, who's not. Purple is where this is my important one. This is anybody who is a client, could be a client, or has been a client. So I've broken them out by nurtures. Those are will be's, actives, those are now, and forever, or raving fan. And then I throw my family in there too. Those are my important people based on transactions. And then my blacks, I have, this is kind of, again, a little bit obsessive. I have, if I've touched them, if I've made a phone call to them in each of the quarters, so I have a Q1 that goes to Q2 after I talk to them, that goes to Q3 after I've talked to them. This is, again, a little obsessive, but I also use the black as a Mets or have not Mets. So the have not Mets are if you have somebody in there who's a like a geographic farm, if you've imported a neighborhood that you're keeping in touch with, you probably have not met many of those people. So I will specify that. this is pretty elaborate. What I would suggest for you right now is choose a color for, and I will make this available to you. You know what? I'll send this out to everybody so that just everybody has this, perhaps everybody who's, everybody. Choose a color to represent agents. Choose a color to represent buyers and sellers. Do set up a sphere, DTD2. Follow those letters. That's scientifically done. And then anything else, and this is how somebody else chose to sort their categories. So you always have the DTD2. And then they have agents. They happened to have chosen my red choice for agents. And then they chose ownership type. Is it a homeowner? Is it an investor, a landlord, a tenant, a multifamily? That was important to them. Commonalities. How do we know these people? Kind of the same thing as what I did over here. And whatever else they have some geo farming, referral partner, neighbor, who those people are. Any questions on that?
Hey, Debbie.
Yeah.
If you were making edits to your existing database that's already in Command and putting these, like color coding it in this way, or even in another way by town or something, did you go back through each one and do this, or did you like hire somebody to do it? Because it just seems like it would take a lot of time.
It does take a lot of time. Here's what I'm going to say. There are certain things you can hire people to do in your database, and there are some things that you just cannot.
So true.
Let's see if this will bring me back to where I wanted to be. I'll just stop the share. I have always spent a lot of time in my database getting it because nobody else knows the people like you do. I mean, you can, if you upload, you don't want to upload too many people untagged because it will make a big problem. It will make a mess. You have to go through one by one by one by one by one. That's if you have a big database. If you're entering one by one, just do it one by one and talk to them at the same time. It kills more than two birds with one stone.
Very good.
Call those people as you're entering them, and then you have a start of a communication. Talk to them about the neighborhood nurture and then launch them on that. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity in working through your database like that. Does that make sense, Julie?
I'm sorry, I'm like stuffing in a snack. Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much.
You bet. Okay. Any leftover questions? Do you feel like you can enter contacts in Command at this point?
Yes.
Good. Okay. It's a Ronnie, did you have something to say? Just
No, I meant to just raise my hand, but I felt like I could enter contacts and somehow
saying,
I tried to
hey,
undo
okay.
it and both went up.
cool. Okay. All righty. And we will next meet on Tuesday at 3:00 next week. We can continue a little bit more. I'll tell you what will make this valuable to you is if you spend some time this week, and I say devote 30 minutes a day to playing with contacts. Don't go beyond contacts this week. Just spend 30 minutes a day and add some people and talk to them through command. And then next week, when we meet again, I'm sure you'll have some questions. Right. And I'm eager to hear how you choose to set your tags up. And just however you do it, it will be right for you. Okay. Any more questions? One more question, two more questions, and I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Scott. I'm not sure if he's in the room yet.
Debbie,
Yep.
when you did the labels, you simply checked off the people that you wanted and then went to the export to
Bulk.
labels?
Bulk action, export to PDF.
Oh, bulk action. Okay, I think that might have been it.
Yeah.
With the bulk action. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bulk
because I
action.
clicked on a few. I was trying it as you were showing it,
Yes.
and I clicked on a few and went to export, and I got people that I hadn't checked off. So
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
right,
So
thank you.
export to PDF, and then you have the couple of steps to get it to create the PDF labels. And those are 5160s of Avery labels, the 30 up mailing labels. All righty.
Okay, thank you.
I hope that was helpful, and I look forward to next week and seeing what progress you make.